the thing that was the thing that's so incredible about him is he's so massive yet so silky and smooth. Like he has like everything. Like he has like
it's Jordan's dream, man.
But man, it's like
I remember sending highlights to David and my friend Cody and being like, when he runs, it's not like he's running, he's pulling the earth back. Like he's just like with his fucking toes gripping with his.
I remember that text. I was just like, oh, you and this kid.
Yeah, right.
But David, that's your FIFA creative player. 6'7".
Oh, exactly.
He runs like the wind and he finishes everything.
Exactly.
No,
he's got a left foot. Like, why not? Because why not?
He's a freak, and he looks more and more like Ivan Drago every day.
Hello, welcome back. We all said like, oh yeah, this international break would be great. Like, lads will get a rest. You could kind of clock out of football. And about 2 days into it, I was like, holy shit, what am I going to do for the next 3 weeks? Luckily,
blow
not
up the WhatsApp. That's what.
Yeah, right. So much.
Me, and Dupree.
The Reds haven't been on the pitch, but so much has been happening. I think a good jump off point to get into this. And just get right into it. We're even going to skip the introductions, right?
I was going to say, since we're skipping intros.
Sorry, I'm skipping intros. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm Jordan.
I'm David. One of them's Darius.
He's DJ. I'm Darius. I was waiting for you. We're trying to do clockwise.
Anyways, it's disjointed just, because it's the international break. We haven't been getting together. We haven't been doing this. We haven't been putting the hours in on the training pitch. But anyways, to start this conversation, I think it's a good place to start the conversation. The news was kind of finalized today on the whole Redbird, LeBron James, FSG, coming together, or I think Redbird buying into FSG, right? Not so much Liverpool, but the father company, FSG. A couple of things that I read today that were promising for us as Liverpool fans. I think I saw that some of the funds that are going into the original investment are to be spent on the debt that FSG incurred to run at Liverpool. I also found out today that FSG borrowed against themselves rather than the club to fund the whole COVID pandemic thing, which was very interesting as well. And so part of that money is going back to FSG to pay back basically the bill on that, which comes with a lot of, implications. Especially in regards to the transfer market and transfer funds we may have. But Darius, I know you've been bullish, a market term, on this whole move. So give me your thoughts.
Well, I mean, outside of the obvious with LeBron James, the big name in all of this, going from being just a guy who was a shareholder to now actually being a part owner and having a voice. And, this little Nike thing, the fact that he has a lifetime contract with Nike, all the marketing implications and all that, that's probably the sexy part that so many people are going to want to talk about. But when you look at Redbird coming in, it's another money source going into this group. And it's not just people coming in saying, all right, we just want to have a piece of the action. It's people who actually do have spending power, because you look at what this Redbird group are doing. They've been trying to buy into European football for years, and now this is their big opportunity to get in with a big club. And with that brings more ambition. So to me, I know that there's not going to be too many people who just get excited and say, yay, more owners. But what I see from this is you have more rich people buying into this rich people pool, and with it, they want to all grow their money. And if there's one thing that rich people love to do, it's growing their money. And the only way you can really do that in sports is by investing. So for me, that tells me that you're probably going to see not anything too crazy, but instead of the sell to buy model that so many people associate with it, you're going to see Moneyball proper, which is what you see with the Boston Red Sox, what you see with the Chicago Cubs. You're going to see, still a cheap-ish squad where you're going to see your guys who are the fringe players are going to be okay players, but you're still going to see superstars go in. That's what you see with the Red Sox. That's what you see with the Cubs. And I think Liverpool are to that point now where they're really going to start going after guys who are superstars, not just because, oh, well, we sold Coutinho, so now we got that money to spend, but because they're being ambitious. So that's me being bullish. That's what I think is going to come for this. But I know not everyone's going to agree with that.
So one thing, and to bring in the baseball analogy here that actually very much intrigues me is that with Redbird wanting to have buy into European football, and I'm going to bring this to you, David, in a second. I think the idea here is to set up like the feeder club system, and not in the city way, which is very empty and weird and doesn't have any continuity or connection, but in more the Red Bull way. And I know Red Bull has its own bad side in the footballing world, especially in Germany, but you can't deny that Red Bull has a progressive step up, system of clubs that seems to be working and developing not only talent on the field, but also on the touchline. There's a potential there to start doing that for Liverpool. David, does that sort of, because for me, I think of like, the loan thing in recent years for Liverpool really hasn't worked out. So because we have no control over what the loan clubs do. So if you can't have this progressive step up for talent, you justify buying people like Naby Keita when they are 19 and very promising rather than letting Red Bull develop him. Thoughts?
It's not just players either, right? So I think it's important because yes, we have had some troubles with loans where you're sending players out to places where they're going to play shit football and they're going to play for managers who don't play a style or even have a training mentality that's anything like what the player is going to experience at Liverpool. He comes back, is still not suited to the club. Well, gee, I wonder why,
Yeah.
So this also allows us to identify young managers or prospects or, ex-players who want to move on and go into coaching could now be employed by the club, or through FSG and coach, let's say, Toulouse, right? Because Redbird runs Toulouse in French. So now you can take a coach that has a similar mentality and philosophy to what Jurgen Klopp has, or to what whoever the Liverpool manager has, is you can essentially kind of develop a player around a certain set of principles and ideals that now they spend their whole career in that. And it's more of a natural progression. Some of that bedding in period in a different country maybe isn't quite so difficult because the training methods are the same. And actually you feel very at home in that aspect of it. And so then it's just really just getting used to a different language. And yes, the intensity of the league and all that, there will still be adjustment periods, but it's not every piece of that. And then you just see like, Red Bull, okay, their problem is that this is a energy drink using football as a marketing tool, essentially is what that is, right?
Yeah.
And it's a big part of why people don't particularly like them. But we're not doing that.
No, yeah.
We're just going to keep the clubs as they are and use them as and try to keep them competitive. Toulouse's goal will be to win as many games as possible and to be as successful as possible, just like Liverpool's. It's just that, why lie to ourselves? Nobody wants to retire not to be offensive to Toulouse, but very few very few young players go there and go, this is where I want to finish my career. It just generally doesn't happen. If there's an opportunity to move, if they have the quality to move to something like England, generally they want to do it. So it only makes sense to me. And like you said, it's cities is very hollow. Well, my thing about City too is what the thing about this move is, it's like 535 million pounds of injection into FSG, right? But the reports on it say that all indications show that really the draw to FSG was Liverpool, not the Boston Red Sox. That's not what I think. His name's Jerry Cardinal. He's like really the brain trusts behind this Redbird thing. He was more drawn to Liverpool. He's been studying European football for 4 or 5 years now, thinking about how he can help it continue to make money. And so the thing is that this allows us to spend money on players this summer in a pre-COVID fashion. Now, before this merger, the only clubs that could say that were Chelsea, City, PSG, maybe Bayern Munich, but even them, I don't know. It was the oil-rich clubs. It was the ones backed by some state. If this move allows us to compete with them the way that we were pre-COVID, I don't see how that's a bad thing. I'm only excited about that. That just it keeps us in the conversation for the best players. It keeps us in the conversation for growing the brand into the world-class football club that we know that this can be.
More money, less problems.
Yeah, I mean, is it a coincidence? Redbird, his name's basically Cardinal. Like, what is going on here? It's all a big joke. Who you have?
This whole time I thought it was a reference to Mighty Red.
Yeah, right. Speaking of, somewhere I have them laying around in stuffed animal form. I recommend that for the kids to fully embed them in the culture and you propagandize them, basically.
Yeah.
Force it upon them. Anyways, but yeah, one of the implications, obviously, of an investment and injection of cash, VJ, is that in the transfer market we can be competitive. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just, like you said, initially, I think we have, like you said, $120 million in debt, which I think, they'll write off. Investment in terms of transfer. Look, here's the thing. Do we now have enough money to just go out and spend and buy players, every other player that we want? No, I don't think that is still the case right now, right? But what will definitely happen is, now I'm thinking season 2021, 2022, we're already in post-COVID. So we will have, the club has made money available to club either way. Or I don't know if the club has made money available to club because of this investment, right? They're two different things. But either way, it's a good thing for us. I think we can now spend in every transfer window, irrespective of a situation like a financial crisis or a pandemic hitting us. And that's where I think this deal would be important, right? Now, like last season, right? Chelsea and Man City, they barely got affected by the pandemic because they're funded by billionaires, right? The only other club which could match them was PSG, right? Again, funded by a country, not even a person, right? I think we'll be in that situation where, again, we won't be spending the money or the amount they would spend, but again, we would be spending the Liverpool amount every summer if we need to. So I think that's where the advantage lies now.
Yeah. Definitely. And is it, as just to continue plowing on into things that happened in the international break, is it any coincidence then, Darius, that a certain rumor came up that we're basically going to sign Konate from Leipzig?
Yeah.
You got him.
I mean, you got him.
We got
it. It's interesting timing. I don't know if that has anything to do like with one or the other, because I think the Konate thing has a lot more to do with something we'll probably talk at some point with the center backs, Joe Gomez and Joel Matip, having so many injuries, and just Liverpool recognizing the plan they had this year where, oh, well, we only have 3 senior center backs. That's clearly never going to be the plan going forward, at least not with all the guys that they have currently. I think that's what they're really going after, looking for a guy like with Upamecano, who's not just one for the long-term future, but can be one for right now as well. I mean, Konate has been compared to a Joel Matip-like player. I mean, when healthy, we've talked about how great these Liverpool center backs are when they're fit. So with Konate, I think that's really what it's really about. But yeah, having that extra cash certainly doesn't help to be able to go and pull off the deal. I just think that I think that was one that was coming anyway.
Okay, so you don't think it had anything to do with the
I think it makes it easier to pull the trigger, but I'm pretty sure they would have already been aiming toward it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you, David. Hopefully this does mean, and you, Vijay, like that, at the very least, we will spend how we intended to spend all along, because I think we were on a path to continue to increase our ability to spend.
This was always highlighted as the big summer, right?
Yeah, right.
In pre-COVID times,
that's
thrown things off so much.
But that's why, again, when I read that part of this money is intended to write off the debts that FSG incurred from the pandemic, I was like, oh, so we're basically
not having fans for a whole year.
Yeah, so FSG essentially is openly being like, yeah, hey, we're hitting reset. They talked a big game and leak stuff to the certain press members that this was the big summer, like you said, David. So maybe Erling Haaland is still on the way.
But it makes sense, Jordan. It makes sense because when you think about where they were pre-pandemic, they had just won the Champions League and they had just won the Premier League. Yeah. So they were on their way to winning the Premier League before COVID broke out. But that tells you they had money in the bank because they hadn't spent in those windows. Takumi Minamino was really the only player of consequence they had brought in before this summer, where you bring in a couple of guys in Jota and Thiago. But outside of that, they hadn't really spent much money. Dejan Lovren and Shimikas notwithstanding. But you look at it and it's like they should have had money to spend. So I think they were just we're not going to spend money. We're going to hold tight, bear down during COVID. Now that you're looking at a post-COVID world and you get the cash injection, hell yeah, I think it's the time to be bullish if you're looking at transfers.
Yeah. Keep in mind that, the FSG model has always been built, right, at least currently, on us achieving incremental success and trying to keep that success going throughout, at least on average across seasons, for the money to flow in, right? So now with this investment, I think that, it would be easier because it's kind of like a give and take where, we have to sign players to keep being successful, right? And then if there is one off season where, we're not successful, particularly this season, right? Before this deal, I don't know if FSG was planning on doing 2 more seasons where, they go ahead and spend money and then get us back up there, right? But now with this deal, I don't think we have to worry about where there will be, 1 or 2 seasons, there'll be a blip, but we don't have to worry about the financial constraint of that affecting us in any way to, go ahead and recruit players that we want.
The one piece of this that I do find interesting from the LeBron angle, right? Because it's one of the things, obviously he's a big name, but him and
no, I got my conspiracy on this.
Well, I think that the big piece of them coming in, that matters so much is no athlete, I think, other than Michael Jordan, has ever marketed themselves and been as global a brand than LeBron James. I mean, it's really Michael Jordan and then him. LeBron James is the first athlete that's going to make $1 billion during his career. Mm-hmm. That's insane when you think about it, right? Yeah. And so it's like, well, having that guy around, and if you're wanting to, if you're a superstar athlete, I'd like to be in the boardroom with that guy and have conversations about what my career might look like, how I might market myself. I mean, yeah, if I'm 23, I've got a lot of years ahead of me, 7-8 years of prime career. How do I make the most of this? That guy can tell you. His agent or his representatives can tell you. And
Maverick Carter's a part of this as well.
Exactly.
Yep.
He's a part of the deal going in with that.
We are the evil empire now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, we're kind of getting it. Like, okay, so here's my thing on. But here's my thing on what this means. This swoosh, the Nike brand. It's to the point where it's not just a shoes. It's not just the boots and the kit. It really is something that opens doors. I mean, you look at some of these athletes and they all want to go in on Nike. It's not just trying to get the money. It's trying to get the kit. It's trying to get the swag that comes with it. It's trying to get into the room with those people. And you look at, by the way, this is where it gets to be the conspiracy part of it. You get to looking at guys like Kylian Mbappe, like Erling Haaland, like Jadon Sancho, all Nike athletes. And of those, only one, Mbappe, is currently at a club that is affiliated with Nike because PSG is a Jordan brand. Liverpool now, as a Nike brand, Nike athletes do want to be at Nike clubs so they can make that a monopoly. Nike is incentivized to make that happen. So I'm just saying, like, if Nike was like, hey, Liverpool, we'll float y'all another extra $100 million off of incentives. That was, you guys did a good job getting to...
we're only getting 30% of the shirt cuts.
Right. So, like, that's the thing. Like, the minds and the powers that are at play do want to see Liverpool successful. Like, if you're Nike, obviously you're sowing your seeds across all of the European clubs that you have, but Nike is one of the crown or Liverpool is one of the crown jewels in Nike's portfolio at the moment. So they are actually incentivized to try to make Liverpool better. So that's why it's like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, it almost makes a little bit too much sense to try to make something happen. Like, hey, Kylian, I know you like it there in Paris, but we'd really like you in England. And you know who we'd like to have you with in England? We'd like to have you with Liverpool. You should consider it.
LeBron James, baby.
We'll throw you in an extra commercial,
Yeah.
and you and LeBron will get to go on vacation in the Maldives.
I like
How
it.
about that?
I like it in like 10 years time when LeBron's retired from basketball and like
It's a puppet master.
no, he just is like, and he's
He's in the executive box.
yeah, and he's just like texting all the players and like around Europe in WhatsApp groups like, oh, I'm at Anfield, it's rocking today, baby, you know, like crown emojis.
No, you know exactly what it's going to be. He's going to be down in Anfield, and then he's going to have his phone up. He's going to be like, hey, guys, I'm at Anfield for a Champions League night, and it's Taco Tuesday. Like, he's merging all of this
together. If the
together.
king wants to be the king of Europe, he's got to join European royalty.
But that's what it is. LeBron is one of those dudes. Nike's one of those companies, and Liverpool is now one of those clubs where they're trying to make everything come together. So I'm just saying, like, don't be surprised if we see some stuff that's just wild and outlandish that we're like, we should have never seen this. But if it's Nike, if it's Liverpool, if it's LeBron, moves can be made. That's all I'm saying.
I will settle for normal this summer. I don't need outlandish this summer, to be completely honest. Like all those outlandish dreams, yes, let's dream big. But this summer, all I need is a return to normal spending, just like refresh the squad and sustain what we have going already. Because, you know, to be like where we're at is a product of extreme circumstance and whatever. You know, if we can,
sorry.
No, go ahead. If we can just recover from that instantaneously, that's great for me. If we can do all the other crazy shit, I'm all aboard.
I know I said it allows us to spend at pre-COVID levels now, but I do think you're right. It probably won't be right away. Like they'll just go on about the business like they kind of initially planned for this summer, and then it's open season going forward. But you know, there's rumor, like it was mentioned in the Dave Maddock piece that the Cardinal fella, he might be actually doing this as a foot in the door towards acquiring the club completely long term.
Okay.
So we'll see about that. I mean,
oh goodness.
Does that change?
Who's he, Ed Woodward? Come on.
Well, right here, real quickly. Watch this. I'm putting the pressure on David. We're going to put a little clip from a Rambling Rivals episode that David has recorded.
No, I haven't recorded it yet.
Well,
he records it tomorrow after we're recording this.
So guess what? You're putting the clip in. It's with our friend Pete. Check it out. See you on the other side.
So every time you get a new coach in, you kind of go on like a little bit of a journey, right? There's always like an evolution. And you and I were talking a lot about kind of how you hoped the Emery thing would pan out. And we used to, and, you know, I was kind of telling you, I think over the last few years on several occasions probably about the kind of the Klopp journey and how we wanted it to evolve. So when you look at Arteta, what's the next step? What do you want to see kind of the evolution pan out to provide this year?
Good question, man. So, you know, I think the big switch is going to come from, you know, lining the team up to negate other teams' strengths, to really putting a team out there that showcases our strength. You know, there were a few times where you could tell he was trying to go out there and control the ball and you know, play the possession game, play some of the quick, wingy, pacey stuff we saw him do over at City, and he just doesn't have the personnel for it. So I don't think we're going to get there the first half of this season, for sure. I think we'll play with the back three. I think we'll play on the counter. I think, you know, we will win games and definitely be in a good position on the table through it, but we still won't be in that playing Arsenal the football way zone until the second half of the season at the earliest. I'll say it that way.
Now, does your fan base know this?
Man, you know, so I've complained about Arsenal fans for years. I will say that the struggles of last season, and we've talked about this, you know, when Liverpool went through some hard times, that it thinned out some of the fluff from the support, and those that are left, you know, I think are contributing in a good way. I'll say it that way. But, you know, expectations, of course, are way off. You know, everybody loves Arsenal Fan TV and that type of supporter. But, you know, I know enough other types of supporters that know that we're in for the journey here. And, you know, success is measured by our attainment of our potential, right? You know, if our potential's right here and we're performing right at that level, then I'm fucking happy. If there's a big gap, then we got issues. It is what it is.
That was a wonderful clip provided by David. whatever it may, well, no matter what it was.
That might have been the one from August or whatever. But
it was a great clip nonetheless.
Pull the curtain back.
So the whole thing, we're talking about transfers. We're talking about, Redbird coming in and Cardinal and, what that means transfer wise. But there is, the fresh rumor. It's apparently he's undergone medicals. Apparently we're this close to the deal. There's a release clause apparently that we just had to meet. Konate from Leipzig, young French center back. If it is happening, if all these rumors are believed to be true, this clearly has some type of effect on the center back options that we currently have. So here's the situation, VJ. We have Kabak on loan, which we could buy for another 18 million on top of the 40 million that we're apparently spending on Konate, or we could tell him, go back.
Yeah.
We have Nat Phillips, who apparently does still have a contract, even though I tried to look it up, and all I could find was that
it says it expires.
Yeah, all I could find is he has a 2-year extension 2 years ago, and I don't have any before he went to
apparently
player option. Is that a thing in football?
No, apparently his management company says it was for initial 2 years, but then another 2 years after that, or another. Yeah, it was like for 3 or 4 years initially. So
there might be club options or like player options.
Yeah. So if he wants to stay, like they could just exercise that.
So, okay, VJ, you get to decide Nat Phillips stays or he goes, we sell him, or maybe, I don't know. We'll assume we sell him. We have to sell him then, right? Nat Phillips, Reese Williams, he's kind of fallen out of the picture recently, but Reese Williams, Ben Davies, who is starting.
Billy Comedio is more of a real footballer at this point.
Right? Joel Matip, Virgil van Dijk, and Joe Gomez, right? What going into next season, what for you should be our center back options?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Who are you keeping and who are you selling out of? Like you got to make a list.
That's where I come in.
A 5-6.
So Virgil, Gomez, Konate, and Kabak. I want to keep all four. Right.
Okay.
The fifth one, I really don't know. I haven't seen Ben Davies play. But my mind kind of wants said it should be good to have a left-footed center half in there. I know Klopp really doesn't give a crap about if he's left-footed or right-footed when it comes to center halves, but it will be good to have that option in there, right? But again, I don't know who to keep in front of Reese Williams, Nat Phillips, and Ben Davies. So I'll say based on how Nat Phillips has played, keep Nat Phillips and send Reese Williams out on loan. And sell Ben Davies for 10 million and get that profit.
I'm just laughing at Jordan right now.
Hey, shut up. Okay. Have you forgotten that Joel Matip exists?
Wait, I said his name, right? Oh,
no, you didn't. You didn't. No, you didn't.
Sorry.
We were all listening.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine, VJ. But what would you do with Joel Matip? This is a pressing question. What would you do with Joel Matip? Would you sell him? Would you keep him for the end? He still has another 2 years on his contract, and he's only $5.2 million for the whole year of his contract. He's on $100K a month. It's not very expensive. What do you do with Joel Matip?
I really don't know. I think, at this point, assuming that there is a betting in favor for Kabak, based on his injury record, at this point, we have to, cut out either one of Gomez or Matip. And I would say, since Gomez is the younger one, let's cut Matip out for now.
That's fine. No, that's fine. It's fine. I'm going to throw it, David. This again, give us back options, and then at the very end, tell us what you would do with Joel Matip. Okay, how about that? Do that, David. Just do that for me. give me the fuck, and then save it for the fucking end. Just fuck. So, VJ, just so you know, and the listeners at home know, we had a very spirited discussion about Joel Matip
discussion,
and
the three of us were making complete sense.
We're just like, sorry, let's just pull it down.
Go ahead.
We were just making the point that, hey, if any one of them was expendable, it would probably be Joel Matip would make the most sense, because you would get more money than somebody like for Kabak or Phillips, and because he is world class, and he's more expendable because he is, like you said, older than Joe Gomez. But Jordan took that as us saying that he was shit, and we're just like, no, that's not what we said at all.
No.
Also,
That's not what it is.
even what I said. Let me paint the picture here. All right.
Yeah, no, please do.
There was like a full logic to this. All right. It was that we went into last season with 3 center backs. I'm not sure they're just going to go to 6, right? Like they may say, okay, we need 5. 5 would be a reasonable, responsible way to address the issues that came out of this last season. So you have there, Virgil and Joe, I think, are definitely going to be there. Joe, because of his youth, not because of his injury record. His injury record's pretty torrid. But I think, you saw his quality last year, his age. There's still going to be some hope that maybe he can pull through it and, continue to be the player that he was. I think you bringing in this Konate kid to basically compete with those 2 players, because you're not assuming that either one is going to play as much, or that they may not come back and be themselves for a little bit. It may be a little bit of a readjustment period.
Right.
They may have been affected by those injuries. This kid's coming in to challenge them, I think. I would try to keep Kabak, although one of the options is a lot of it comes down to the finances, right? Like how much do we want to spend on center halves? And so there is an argument to say just send Kabak back and get that, you keep that 18 mil in the bank, and you roll with Joel Matip as your 4th option center back. Perfectly valid option. He's a quality player. But Kabak has shown some real promise. He's not going to cost as much in terms of wages. Now you've got the 18 million up front, but I think we can agree that's a pretty good deal for a player of his age and what his ceiling may be. I think Nat Phillips is on his way out of the club. He'll go somewhere where he can play regular football. We'll get a reasonable amount of money for him. I don't
10
know,
million.
maybe 10 million. Yeah. 10 to 15 because he's English as well. Nat Phillips, kind of sad to see it happen, but he will go. Davis, I feel like might stick around for one reason. If you want to play a 3-man back line ever, he can do it. He can also play left back, which gives you a little bit of Klopp loves a player with versatility, loves it. And he's got that. He can play center back. He can play center back in a couple of different shapes. He can play left back. Shimikas has not settled in. May require loaning out. We don't know what the deal is there. He just has not adapted to the system well, according to a piece from James Pierce a couple of weeks ago. So I'm not really sure what his future is. And Ben Davis could possibly give you that depth that you need there. And he's pretty cheap. So I don't know on him. He's sort of the one that you go like, oh, so I haven't seen him play. But Klopp insists that he's part of the long-term plan, that he has long-term plans for him. And I think if maybe what one of the issues is why we haven't seen him. Look at his size. They may want him to beef up a bit and be a little bit more,
robust.
Yeah, robust. So that might be part of why we're not seeing him, is he's kind of undergoing a transformation to being a Premier League center back. So if he really is part of the plans, though, with Kabak and him, that gives you 5. And at that point, given his injury record, the fact that he'll turn 30, I know he's a world-class player, but I think there's if the funds start to flow in this transfer window and you start seeing clubs spend a little bit, and the clubs down the line are getting the money for their players, and so that sort of transfer economy is actually working, there will be a market for a player like Joel Matip. And I just think, given his injury record, I'm not saying it's definite or that I would necessarily want it to happen, but I'm saying it can't be off the chopping block for Joel Matip to not be there next season.
Oh no, my heart's breaking.
Yeah.
Darius, just drive it home.
But I mean, I think what we're all getting at, it's more like if someone comes to you with an offer you can't refuse. It's that type of situation. If somebody says, we'll give you 40 or 50 mil for Joel Matip, you're going to think long and hard about it. But at the same time, if I have money to go and get players without having to give anyone up, I'm not giving up Joel Matip. I would definitely have him as a more break in case of emergency, break glass in case of emergency situation, where I'm thinking the alignment would be Virgil van Dijk, Joe Gomez, or Konate, and then Matip. If Matip, if you can guarantee me health, he's the number 2 option. I think. I think there's a strong case for him being the second best behind Virgil. If you're guaranteeing his health, that's the only thing though. We haven't been able to see it for a good minute. And you pointed out in the group chat, by the way, Jordan, we haven't seen it with Joe Gomez either, which is why someone like Konate coming in is important. So at the very least, you have that depth. So I wouldn't write off seeing 6 center backs next season for Liverpool, because you're looking at it, half of those dudes are literally coming off an injury last year. Konate did have a big injury a couple of years ago with his ankle, and you're also looking at Kabak, and then after that, either Phillips or Davies, whoever. You're not feeling much better than where you are right now if you're not guaranteeing health from any of those players, the top 4 anyway. So I would not rule out 6 guys at center back going into next year. I wouldn't rule out at all, and I would be more than happy to see Matip stay, because I mean he's boss. Like, we don't need to get into that conversation. We all know he is.
There are 2 scenarios, I think, where you see him stay. One is they've decided that 40 million pounds is what they want to spend to address the center back problem. And even though he's been okay, Ozan Kabak, or they send him back and they say, we're not going to give you 18 million, we'll give you 12 million or something like that. And if Schalke wants to take it and they're strapped for cash, then, that we can have that discussion. But that's one scenario. The other scenario is the team evolves a bit, and we do play a 3-man back line with 3 center backs. And in that case, having 6 just means 2 at each position. And that would make actually a lot of sense. I don't know if it would ever happen. I don't know if that's something that Jurgen Klopp has thought about. I mean, I know that he has thought about 3-man back lines. It was one of the things he pointed out about Davis when we signed him, is that he could do that. So it might be something that happens, and then in that case, yeah, Matip definitely will probably be here just to play a part in whatever that looks like. And Reece Williams goes out on loan. I forgot to say.
Yeah. That. Oh yeah. That's the most important part of the
Reece and Billy
is that Reece Williams goes on loan. Here's for Joel Matip. The case for keeping Joel Matip, no matter what. I remember 08-09 Sami Hyypiä, right? And 08-09 Sami Hyypiä was not really in the starting lineup. And then someone went down with a shock injury at Man United at Old Trafford, and he stepped in and he bossed it until the end of the season from that point on, and we almost won the title, right? Joel Matip is so good. He's so good. And I know he's been hurt recently, and we forget how so good he is. He is really elite. He's played at an elite level his whole life in football. Like, he came into Schalke at 18. His debut game was against Bayern Munich. And since then he's played in the Champions League or the top flight of country. He's very good. And if he plays one game a week and you have those other players playing in front of him all the time, and that satisfies his requirements as a footballer, as well as manages his injury troubles, and he doesn't cost any money to keep on, and you can sell him next summer, and still get decent amount of money and be ahead of the whole game because you got him for free. And I just love Joel Matip so much, and everyone knows that. Everyone knows I love Joel Matip so very much. But on Footy Man, when I play Footy Man, the progression of bringing in youth players, right, is like you have like the older veteran and you kind of have them compete and swap them out. And then the next season you play the youth guy more, and in January you sell the veteran because he's upset. And to be frank, usually when I play as Liverpool, I sell Joel Matip, as the first center back I sell.
I was going to say he'd be the first dude you sell if you were doing this as like a FIFA video game or football.
No,
manager.
Exactly. And you get decent money for him. But I don't know. Given what happened this year and how drastic the center back injuries were, I wouldn't be surprised if there was like more retention of the options that we have, in my opinion. And Konate, for me, coming in, yes, he's obviously absolutely pushing the first 2 options, or at least playing for that second position. But, there's an interesting case where Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez are a partnership, and then Joel Matip and Konate are a partnership. And you just rotate. Yeah. And you just rotate those 2 when you need to or whatever.
Regular rotation.
We're sitting here like begging for just Phillips and Kabak to keep going this season. All we want to see is not Henderson and Fabinho ever again.
Yeah,
that's all we're asking.
If I could just avoid that, that would be great.
But if you can have like two center back options that are like first choice that you can rotate, and they build that chemistry, you're not swapping in pieces. And then every so often Virgil van Dijk needs a run of games or whatever, you can always swap in someone else for Joe Gomez as we do normally. And I don't know, it sounds very attractive to me to keep all of these very good center backs.
Let me tell you, folks, this is a lot more rational than what went on in that group chat.
I was going to say.
Where it was just like, oh, no, you're right. Joel Matip is trash. Fuck him. Let's get rid of him.
Listen. I just don't
Somebody
think.
put a screenshot of that chat somewhere.
Oh, Lord.
David,
yeah, we got it.
I just don't think, because I've been seeing a lot of this where people are like, yeah, just get rid of Joel Matip. Like, it's no big deal. And like, this is a center back, like literally has played at the highest level of football since he was a child. Like,
and has proven to be a key element of our system when he plays.
Oh, yeah,
he sets up goals. He's been
won them the Champions League, man. He was fantastic that year.
He's like in the 99th percentile for assists as a center back for like the last calendar year. Like, his progressive passing, his progressive dribbles as a center back, like very impressive. He's also a character, and like, we just love characters.
We love the Joel Matip gifts. Like, we love it. The reaction.
He stepped in when Joe Gomez got hurt in the Champions League year after he was injured himself, and then continued to play all the way through the end until the start of next season. And was, absolutely class. And yeah, I don't know. People like we could just get rid of him. It should be like more of a struggle internally to entertain the idea of letting Joel Matip walk out those doors. Like, it should hurt to actually say the words. It should just be so easy.
The only way I would say it would be easy for me is if I know that there's something else coming in, because if it's like, hey, sell Matip, but then you're going to now have enough money to go get Haaland, that's when I'm like, okay, that's an easy decision for me.
See, if Redbird's coming in and they're going to just be making it rain, then
hey, but you're still gonna have to make some tough decisions. Like, I mean, there's never going to be a point in this model where and even in like with teams like City, like when you have a world-class player come in, you're usually going to have a world-class player go out, or at the very least, someone who is going to make you say, damn, we might miss that guy. Like, that's just always going to be the transaction in sports, no matter the case. So I agree that it's going to hurt if and when Matip were to leave, but I just think of it from that perspective, like, what could you possibly be gaining? And if you're just going to say, I'm not willing to go and make that trade-off, I feel like that's short-sighted. Because if you can get someone who's an improvement to the squad, yeah, it's going to hurt losing Matip, but I don't think the drop-off from him to the rest of the guys who you would have there is steep enough to say, no, we can't do that. That's all I'm saying.
Or we can just keep all 7 like Arsenal.
Or we could just keep all 7 and then also bring in people and then also be boss, and then we just buy everyone and we just win every game. Like, we could do that.
Hey, listen, a reason to keep all 7. Look at me doing it on the fly and doing it like a pro. A reason to keep all 7, David, is because UEFA has just announced their brilliant plan to ruin European football.
That's true.
Yeah, that's
so because we're gonna play 10 million games a season, they're gonna eventually.
We're fucking off the League Cup. It's done.
Listen, there's gonna be a point in time in the future where they're like going to try to justify, why can't we have a morning Liverpool Real Madrid game and then an afternoon Liverpool Real Madrid
double headers? Let's go.
Why can't we do that? And then so this is our progression towards that nonsense. So UEFA was like, now's our time to shine. Let's give them the shit that we've been brewing up. How did it taste, David?
It tastes a lot like the European Premier League, doesn't it?
Yeah, Jesus, man.
Oh man,
it's gonna have an effect.
It's okay. It's okay. 60, 70 games a season. We can have a squad of 30, 35 players,
Well, it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen, isn't it? I think it's.
I mean, when there's so much money involved, nobody gives a shit about traditions and all that crap or whatever.
I mean, you made the joke. I was just gonna say though, but Jordan, you made the joke about like morning games and night games, but it's like it kind of feels like that with baseball. Like, one of the problems that baseball has that football is starting to get toward is the oversaturation of the sport. When you have too many games, people tune that shit out, and that's where it's like you don't want it to be. Because if you have 30 people on your roster or 40 people on your roster, you don't know who's gonna play week in, week out. You just don't know. So when you show up to Anfield, you have no clue. All right, guys, are we going to see Virgil today? or is it going to be that other kid that they got for 50 million? Like, you have no clue what's going to happen. I mean, that's where sports becomes like it loses its luster. So this whole idea of doing 100 games and shit, it's just like, it's a terrible idea.
Coaches are not used to working with big squads. Any coach you take, any manager you take, they'll say, what's your ideal squad number? They'll probably say 25. And that includes like a third keeper and someone from the youth team as part of that 25. For 100 games, he's going to just play all the kids for whatever games he cares about. Like, knowing Klopp, he'll probably like, yeah, this is the Champions League, I'll play my team. This is the Premier League, I'll play my team. All the other competitions can go,
Well, I think, like I said, the League Cup would be done for the clubs that are in this. We don't
even play the League Cup anymore.
We don't really,
as it is.
But I mean, even that 1 or 2 fixtures, because those dates will have to be used to play these games. These expanded group games. How many is it? 10 group stage games, or it's not even a group stage technically. It's like a league, and you have a table, and the top 8 get in, and I don't even know how it works. It's kind of fucked up because it's like, it ain't broke, don't fix it. But fine. Here we go. This is the beginning of it. And I think it's UEFA's attempt to kind of give the big clubs what they want. They're all, I really don't like the whole wild card berth thing where like we'll get in anyways because of our, we've got pedigree in this area. Like, come on, man. You either earn your way into it or not.
It's just to guarantee a common revenue stream for all the big 6 English clubs, right?
They're just sick of Man United not qualifying. That's what, or Chelsea not qualifying. Arsenal.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, right? If you take a look at all the owners, right? Everyone wants that money, but the people who are actually seriously considering this whole concept of the wild card, the Super League, John Henry wants it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh, 100%.
He wants it the most.
He
wants it the most. Daniel Levy wants it because Tottenham's crap, and they're not going to finish in the top 4 every season. I don't know if Roman Abramovich wants it as much as some of the Glazers want it because
Vijay, to answer your question, yes, they all want it because they want to protect their assets. Because the one thing that European football has that's different than what we experience here normally in America is that they don't have a closed league. What we have here, we have closed leagues. So anyone who is bought into the MLS, NHL, NBA, your asset is protected. It's guaranteed money that you're getting every year. You don't have to fight for it. That's what they want. So of course, John Henry and all the rest of them at the top, of course they want that. They want to protect their asset. They want to have not just the revenue, but the guaranteed revenue. So it's just like a crock pot, baby. Set it, forget it, and we still got money coming in. That's what they want to have. Of course. They all want that.
There will be a night. Like if it happens in the next 3 or 4 years, let's say, the European Super League, there will be an ideology clash between Klopp and Henry because, Klopp's like, don't play those games. Players should be protected. We should be keeping the games to a minimum. And I agree with Klopp, right? The competition is more interesting if there's only a little. If you have 100 games, like you said, they'll just tune it out. And John Henry has been trying to do this since his Red Sox day, mind you. He wanted that extra revenue for all the major baseball teams, including Red Sox, Yankees. Like he wanted Yankees and the Red Sox to get more share of the money as compared to the other baseball teams before. He's tried that before, but MLB said no. So he's now trying that with Liverpool. And it's not a point he's not put before. Remember the first few years when he took over the club, he was like, it's like, since we have so much support. Since we have so much support in Asia, we should get more money.
Yeah, man.
That was his pitch.
He's a billionaire trying to make more money. So, I mean, the key point here is to stop the terrible European Super League. We have to end capitalism.
The Champions League.
We have to end the global struggle against capitalism.
We're back.
Okay, so we just
come to an end.
Here's the thing: we just listed a bunch of shit, and the hard part to swallow, I think, for everybody is that that's actually all that's good for Liverpool in the end.
Oh yeah. No. We have said it. Project Death Star helps us.
Yeah,
like,
the problem is
selfishly,
the morality side of it. Like, what happens to the EFL Cup, the League Cup, is the EFL's big money generator. right? So
Yeah.
if it doesn't exist,
Yeah, no, the EFL's dead. Like, you know,
it's
football
already
become-
dying. Like 50% of the clubs are on the verge of going out of business anyways. And now you're going to take away their biggest money generator. It's kind of like and honestly, I think that's why you remember when we were talking about big picture and the EFL was on board. Rick Perry was like, yeah, this is a good idea. This is why.
Yeah.
Because he saw down the line that this was going to happen. And he's like, we need the money.
Yeah,
It's the only way we're going to survive it. So we're going to have to give them more to get more. That's the only way.
Yeah. And like, you know, like VJ talked about tradition. And like obviously like this whole new format obviously just flops completely on its head, everything we're used to. But you know, when that point is brought up, I like to remind people all the time that it used to be called the European Cup, and you had to win your you had to win your league to get into
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
And then it got expanded, and then
Look,
yeah,
I'll say it.
and we got
like
used to
European
the
Cup.
expansion. You know, we got used to the expansion at some point, and the horrible truth, in fact, of the matter is when they force it upon us that we will grow used to it. And
oh yeah. Just like you got
We'll
used to the
love it.
or people
Right.
got used to the Premier League. You know, that wasn't always a thing. It was much different in terms of how the money worked and everything. You know, it was a big change in football. But
Yeah.
now it's the number one product that we all pay attention to. So
Jordan, it's one of your favorite
Oh.
quotes, man. Life finds a way.
life finds a way.
To the
Go ahead,
point,
VJ. Go ahead, VJ.
I still like the European Cup. You know, it's just there's something about it. You know, there's a mystique associated by winning a trophy, by winning another trophy. You know what I mean? It's the European Cup was always an elite group, and Liverpool were part of that elite.
Yeah.
You know,
But
it's
I like the expansion that they did do because it allows for scenarios like, you know, football is all about which is the problem with this whole new idea of like, you know, bought in teams. It's all about the idea of the underdog who's never been there or could never get there, getting there. You know, like us in 2005, there's no reason if we go by normal European Cup standards that we should even be in that competition. But I think everyone in world football would agree that us being in that competition was, you know, worthwhile, you know, like, and so the expansion worked in that regard. And so, yeah, the idea of like franchises, it's all very American, right? Like, you know, let's guarantee our income, you know, collective bargaining agreements. We guarantee the amount of money we make in this competition, and us as the big club should be able to keep the big share of all this to us. And like, I get it. It's the Americanization of football. Let's hope it doesn't succeed. But if UEFA is going to this point, it's like they're trying to compete heads up with it, or at least, you know, like David said, you know, appease those people and buy into it. And it's, you know, it's the unfortunate reality of the fact that football is not only a game played in between the lines, but it's also a business. And that's the sad truth.
Yeah.
But
it's like 99% chance it's going to happen. So.
Well, it is happening. We're doing this stupid expanded 2 games against each other league table, adding more games.
And NFL just went to 17 games. Like, it's going to happen. We know it.
Keep in mind, there might be a third UEFA competition coming up as well. So meaning that, you know, any team finishing in the top, any team finishing in the top 10 of their league will probably be in the European football.
Don't change the European Cup. Let's just do like, you know, like a 4 bracket down every single league, and like we'll get like teams 18 through 20 can play each other in a fucking European competition. I'll fucking watch it. That would be interesting to me.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, right? Like give them a fucking shit level European Cup, but don't fuck around with our format. Keep it in.
Just bring back the Cup Winners' Cup.
Exactly.
You know,
and the Intertoto
the
Cup, all that shit, you know? Like they used to be like other European competition. Like the UEFA Cup used to actually mean something, you know? It was valuable, you know?
It was UEFA Cup was technically the second best competition to win in Europe. Not even your league. It was like the European Cup, the UEFA Cup, and then your league for a while. But then,
Well, yeah, because everyone gets into the Champions League now, and you get into the UEFA Cup.
The Champions League is still fun, you know, in those case scenarios, like you're mentioning, Liverpool playing in the finals and all. There are already some sort of protections for clubs within the Champions League right now, where like, you know, if you're from the same country, you can't play it in the group stages and the round of 16. You can only play in the that sort of left out, you know, that almost guarantees that, you know, all the big clubs will at least come into the top 8. You know, you rarely get a Porto coming through, and all these stuff, like a Lepe coming into the Champions League semifinal. That's been happening much rarely. Whether if those old rules still existed, I would think, we'd have seen like a team like Leon consistently coming down to the quarterfinals. All the other teams, getting eliminated at the round of 16s.
I don't know. Porto's here. Porto's here this season.
That's what I'm saying. Like Porto's one team though, right? You know what I mean?
But then Lyon was last season, and then I feel like if we start going Tottenham and Ajax, like, come on, lad, let's have a word here real quickly. Like, it still happens.
I feel that it happens, but it's happening much less. You know what I mean?
That's fair, but
it could happen much more if those protections weren't there for the bigger teams.
Oh, I think those protections guarantee that you get more interesting matchups in the round of 16, though. But back to the bigger point, though, the Super League, the thing that they released, the UEFA, David, is just stupid. It's more games, more injuries, more fixture congestion, less importance in the matches.
More headaches for Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, I don't know why it needs to be fixed. Did anyone really sit around and go, this was broken? This
ain't broke.
Does anybody go, it's just been too long since the last football match?
Yeah, right.
If anything, I would say that they might want to have a conversation about having fewer games, because what we saw last year with the single elimination when you got to the quarterfinals, that was actually really fun. Like it was refreshing. So like,
damn on this away goal nonsense.
Yeah, if they want to have any kind of conversation, maybe contraction of games. Maybe that's the one they want to think about. But
yeah, and then you can do neutral venues, so you can have your giant
neutral all the way. But at the same time, you don't want to lose.
And now we're having fucking Liverpool, Barcelona, and New York City.
Right. Like and now all of a sudden I'm just like, nope, never mind.
I want to swallow bleach and bleed out of my throat.
A thing like that is going to happen as well.
Oh no, yeah, we're walking the path.
FIFA wants to approve.
They were already going to do La Liga games in Miami.
El Clasico in Miami, like they was talking about that for real.
Not even talking about that. Like, do you know the Emirates Cup and all that crap we play in the summer when we come to the United States? FIFA wants to make that a legit competition. Like people want
Liverpool, Real Madrid coming to you from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
No, yeah, they want to have a FIFA Club World Cup that's actually like a World Cup rather than And like, it's all coming down the line because everyone needs their piece of the pie, because it's all disjointed, different governing bodies, all making different competitions that intersect.
The thing about that is like the amount of people you're going to have on board, like the clubs that are going to be against it are like clubs that already struggle with fixture congestion, like the European clubs. But you think everybody else in the world, like, you think Houston Dynamo and Tigres are going to be like, no, we've got enough games? No, they're going to be like, oh yeah, we want to do that. And that's the same thing with fucking Shenzhen United or whoever.
I would see like a Houston
around the
Dynamo.
world.
I would see a game between like Houston Dynamo and Wolves or Sheffield. That's fun, right? Yeah. Just not us going there and playing every time all those.
Well, that's the thing though. If you're going to say Wolves got to go play Houston, then I mean, you can't do that without saying, all right, well, the top teams are probably going to have to go play some shit team in MLS or in Liga MX or something like that. Like, there's no way you could do that, with it just being the mid-tier teams. Like, it would have to be everybody or nothing.
Imagine San Jose versus Brighton. It's like Adam Lallana versus an old-ass Chris Wondolowski or whatever.
Chivas and Manchester United. Like, Cruz Azul taking on Real Madrid. Like, what is happening?
I would pay Adam Lallana to go studs up on Chris Wondolowski. I'd DM him and say, hey, how much would it cost for you just studs up? Roy Keane on Holland's dad style. Just I'll pay a lot of money, Adam. I don't care if you get banned. I don't care what I got to do, man.
Is that a transition? No, just...
Which works perfectly. It's well, our time's running down, but we have a game this weekend. What do we do here? Do I just spin it around the horn and you tell me how you feel?
I mean, David's got it covered. He's talking to Pete. Like, do we have to talk Arsenal?
No, you're right. So here's what I'll do to end the episode. You're just gonna give me a score prediction, and that's it. VJ, we play Arsenal coming back from the international break. This episode's just been like the international break, long, full of so many things to digest.
A lot of hot air.
Yeah, and now the game. VJ, we play Arsenal Sunday. Yeah,
Saturday.
Oh yeah, geez, Saturday. You're right.
All right.
Is our Champions League match Saturday. Give me a scoreline.
2-1 to us.
Okay. All right. Darius.
3-1 to Liverpool, but I really don't care what happens. Take me straight to Madrid.
True. Very true. Yeah, exactly. Why don't we want to talk about it? Because at this point, the league's kind of irrelevant, unfortunately. David, over to you.
Yeah, 2-1 sounds good. We're away from Anfield, so we'll probably play pretty well.
Yeah, let's see here. It's Arsenal. For some reason, Arsenal and us always play extremely insane games that don't make sense. Like the last time we played Arsenal at the Emirates was the Allison blunder, and didn't Robbo do something silly? I feel like a pass back or something.
Yeah, it was a pass back, gives up a goal.
Yeah. And like Virgil did something silly too, and it was all very weird. So with that all being said, it'll probably be
4-4.
I was gonna say 3-2. I feel like it'll just be goals everywhere. Like Arsenal was trailing West Ham 3-0 and then pulled it back to 3-3. Like they don't make sense at all. So it'll be 3-2. They'll score first, and then we'll score 3, and then they'll score late, and that's how it'll be. But
wasn't
hey,
that 4-4 where Arshavin scored 4 times around this time of year? I'm just waiting
going
for
like
it.
this.
All right, I think it'd be more fun. Name goal scorers. Who you think scoring?
I actually remember the prediction for that 4-4 game. I predicted that we'll win that 4-2.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
No, but so Darius said who you
scoring?
think scores the goal?
Yeah, who scores?
Who scores?
I'll go. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I'll say you. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll go Trent and Mo, and then Xhaka gets a freak one for them.
IVJ, give me your scores.
All right, I think Nat Phillips scores and Kabak scores.
I love it.
Just center backs.
Wow.
All right.
Darius, who scores?
I see a brace from Diogo Jota and a cracker from Trent. I think that actually sounds really good. And Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, because he's really good at football.
Lacazette scores both their goals because that's what he does against us. Mo gets 2, Monty gets 1. And that, until next time, has been Tampa Bay Cop Talk. I'm Jordan.
I'm David.
He's
I'm
VJ.
One of
I'm
them's
Darius.
VJ.
Until next time, up
Okay,
the
I
Reds.
don't have the 4-cut screen in front of me. I don't know who's about
Up the Reds. Cut right there, David. We're done.